System update. I'm Tricia Canaday, the SHPO Administrator and Deputy SHPO for Idaho. Also participating from our office today are our Compliance Architectural Historians, Ashley Malloy, and our newest staff member, Kayla McElrath. As I said, this is the 5th ICRIS update. Recordings of the 4 previous sessions can be found on our website, along with a couple of documents that may be of some interest. Ashley Malloy has dropped a link to that page into the chat for your access. A recording of this session will be added after we complete it, and as future sessions and training videos and webinars are created, they will also be added. ICRIS Go Live is currently scheduled for January 18th. As we understand it, Go Live will be a 3-day process during which SHPO systems will be largely shut down and we will not have access to records or files. One thing we do want to give you a heads up about and ask for your assistance with regards to the transition process. Specifically, with the switchover from submitting new projects with ASI or IHSI site forms in the Access database to submitting new projects with resource records in ICRIS. We expect that many of you are probably have projects currently in the works that you anticipate submitting to our office in the coming weeks. As we have worked through how we can make the transition as seamless as possible without requiring duplicative work for you and or our staff, we've determined that we will likely need to temporarily stop accepting new projects to our office beginning January 1st and lasting until Go Live. These 2 weeks will give our office the opportunity to finish processing projects that don't require ongoing consultation and get the Access database of site forms and our project review database ready for the final migration into ICRIS during Go Live. If the Go Live date changes, this temporary stop date will change accordingly. We recognize that this may inconvenience some of you and ask for your patience, and certainly if a project is pressing or there is an emergent situation or there are extenuating circumstances, we will work with you to meet your needs to the best of our ability, regardless of the timing. In the meantime, if you have completed site forms for a project, but you are not yet ready to submit the project for review for one reason or another, we would greatly appreciate if you would send the site forms to us as soon as possible so that we can get them into the database before the final data migration to ICRIS at Go Live. As a priority, we particularly request that you send in any newly recorded sites as opposed to updated sites. We will create temporary determination of eligibility projects to associate them with, and when you create your project in ICRIS after Go Live, your data will be already be in the system and immediately available to you. After Go Live, all projects submitted to our office will be required to be submitted in ICRIS. Related to that, we will not accept new Access site forms after Go Live because it would require that we do manual data entry for every property, and we simply don't have the capacity to do that. If you have unsubmitted site forms after Go Live, the consultant or agency will need to re-enter the data in the new system, creating new resource records in ICRIS. But we hope to avoid that if you can send us those completed site forms between now and Go Live. But to reiterate, if you have existing unsubmitted site forms waiting for a project to be completed, give them to us as soon as possible and before Go Live, and we will be able to automatically migrate the data into the new system. While we are all working to make the process smooth, there will undoubtedly be some hiccups along the way. We will work with you individually as issues come up, but again, we ask for your patience and grace during this transition period. I'm sure there are many questions about all of that, but I'm going to ask you to hold them just for now until after we can provide a few demonstrations of new functionality that have been built into the system since our last session, including a limited projects page for the public, what the work queues will look like, and sending projects back and forth between consultants and agencies. Keep in mind that ICRIS is still in development and there are still bugs to be worked out and functionality to be built in. The finished product will look very much like what you're going to see today, but not necessarily exactly as it will appear. So now I'm going to turn things over to Ashley Malloy for our first demonstration. Ashley?
Sure, and I think we can answer Okay. Can you guys hear me okay without all that noise? All right. And just to answer Joe's email, I think, yes, we will be sending out a summary. So the first thing we're going to demo for you all today is the public project list. This is sort of built outside the system and can be shared with the general public. And it's just meant to be used by the general public to understand where projects are and what projects are being reviewed by our office at any given point, and projects that are in process with federal agencies. It's also going to be used by the governor's office, which we report to quarterly. But it has just general information, the SHPO project number, the project name, the status, so it's in progress with the BLM Burley, or if it's in SHPO review, it'll show the status here, or if it's in lead agency review, rural development per se, it's in this section here. It lists the lead agency as well as the agency finding, and it will also show, we're going to have them add a column for a SHPO, the final SHPO finding as well. If like a certified local government wanted to search for projects, they could search by location and show just the projects in Ada County. They can sort by lead agency. So if they want to see everything that BLM Burley is doing, they have this list available to them. And then they can contact the specific agency if they have any questions about these projects.
I'm just going to jump in, Ashley,
yeah.
and just say, just to be clear, they will not be able to access the project, the report, the data. It's just a list of projects. It's a static list with no links.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and this is modeled off of, if you're familiar with Utah's system, they have a similar list of projects available that, yeah, none of these links you can click and they take you nowhere. So the next thing I think we are going to demo, Kayla and I are going to demo a consultant sending a project to an agency sending a project to SHPO with some back and forth, and also show off the work queues for the pro subscription. So the work queues are not available for basic subscriptions. So I think I'm going to have Kayla now share her screen.
Okay, hopefully everyone can see my screen.
I think, Kayla, you'll have to go to your email where that project is located.
Oh yes, just start there. Okay, so it sent me an email that I had created a project. And if I click this link here, it will take me to that project, where I can then look at all of the details, add attachments, add polygons, surveys, and resources. And I have some samples to test. I'm going to drop in a couple pictures. Well, cover letter. And you can choose which document type.
Just add here. We've demoed some of these parts before. So when you're creating a project, you'll have your GIS. You'll have to, for section 106 projects, you'll have to upload 2 overview photographs as well as your cover letter or DOSC, whatever your agency uses. And then I'll let you draw a polygon.
And you double click to close the polygon, and you can select the buffer area. And then you can submit the project, and it'll tell you what you're missing, marked by the red X. So it says we need to select an agency project finding. And to do that, we can edit the project information and choose a finding. And for this one, Ashley, did we want to do adverse or no adverse?
No adverse or no historic properties.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, and then you can submit the project.
So Kayla has now, Kayla, just background information, Kayla is logged in as a consultant with basic privileges. So that's why she had to go to her email to find her project. If you have a subscription, there'll be an easier way, which I will show you in 1 second. Let me share my screen. Okay. So the information here, this is my screen. I am a pro user. I am logged in as the Boise National Forest. And just refresh here since she submitted the project. So I can see that this project has been submitted to me. So it has SWCA consultant submitted the project. It's under lead agency review. This is my work queue where I need to take action. We also have my project list. So these are things that are not necessarily in your queue currently. So we have projects that are in progress that are with other consultants, or we also have projects that have been submitted to the SHPO office already. And so I can go back to my review queue. I can open Kayla's project that she created, and vice versa. You can also, if you're a federal agency, you can create a project and send it back to your consultant. I can go in here and change any information I need. So this is a USFS Boise, and we have 2 PAs that are applicable. So I'm going to say that they're going to use our invasive species PA. We can also add any additional information that maybe the consultant forgot to put in. If there's a related project, we can find it in this list here. So we'll just randomly pick a project to add. Maybe it's not necessarily related, and then we can save our information here. So after reviewing all of this information, I can look at the project attachments. I can look at the cover letter. I can look at our polygon. I'm like, you don't need a 2.25 mile record search area, so we're going to change it to a mile. Submit that. We can also look at the project and the information, the different resources that have been recorded previously, and all the surveys that are in the record search area, or literature review area is what we're going to be calling it with ICRIS. And I can see like Kayla didn't do any work, so, and I'm not happy with what she's done. I can return the project to the consultant and say, please upload survey report, additional photos. Thank you. So I can return that project. it's logged in the events over here. So SWCA submitted it to the Forest Service. And then as the Forest Service, we sent it back to the consultant. And I can let Kayla take over again.
Okay, now I will get another email that the project has been returned, and I also got one, as you can see here, that it's been submitted in ICRIS. So I'll go to the one that said it has been returned, and if you open it, you can already see that you can see Ashley's comments, why it was returned, and then I can make those edits that she requested. So I can upload more photos. And then I'll say that's good enough and submit the project again.
And I will share my screen again. I just refreshed the page here. It's back in lead agency review. I'm gonna just quickly look over it. But we know federal agencies will take a nice close look at everything. And then like, this is good enough. So I'm going to submit the project to the SHPO. So we have a new event status updated. USS Boise submitted lead agency review to SHPO. And we have the submitted to SHPO up here. The due date is auto-calculated, so we actually have an agreement with the Boise National Forest for a 21-day review, and so that's reflected here. So now I'm going to show you the SHPO view. Here we are. So this is the SHPO review log. So these are all the unassigned projects. Let me refresh screen. So unassigned projects, we have the demo project here, USF Boise. I can add a reviewer to that. Kayla, Chris, maybe. Oh, Lindsay. Added to that project. It gets moved off of our unassigned queue. Add a reviewer to this project. And then, so I'm logged in as myself. So if I go to my review queue, whoops. It is not loading the updated projects. I know they're still working on this. So anyways, the projects will load over here and then we can review the projects as they come in. So if I look at this one in our review queue, SHPO review, Hungry Ridge Restoration Project. There's not a project type for this one. But we can go in and review, so we can have our comments over here. These are internal notes. We can have the review date added. We're getting errors. And then you can also have an official SHPO response that will send a letter out. So that's what this sort of side of the ICRIS looks like for the SHPO review. And I think that's all we had to demo today.
Great. Thank you, Ashley and Kayla. We ran through that pretty quickly and certainly expect there may be questions, and there are questions in the chat that we'll look at answering. Will there be a guide for required documentation and naming conventions to be used? And yes, we'll have all that guidance coming, but that's not really changing. You know, you're still uploading your projects just and giving them to us in a digital format as you have been for the last, several years since I guess the pandemic, when we switched to a digital system. So that's all just kind of staying the same. You're just uploading it into ICRIS instead of sending it to us via email. So there won't be big differences there. Joe asked for a summary in an email of the introductory remarks, and certainly we'll be happy to send that out to all of you. Will we need to upload each photo individually, or can we upload a PDF with our photos in a photo log? So we're moving away from the PDFs and would like actual JPEGs, but you should be able to batch upload them. And when you're creating a project, it only requires 2. If you're recording a property, it will be more, potentially more photos than that, but you should be able to batch upload. We don't have the batch upload yet, but they're working on that element. Let's see. Did we already go over subscription type and cost? If so, in which session? We have not done that yet. We are still finalizing that. I know everyone is anxious to know about that, but as we've mentioned, there will always be a free option. You do not have to subscribe to ICRIS. You can become a basic user and upload and submit projects to our office and have communication with us. You will not have some of the convenience functionality or the some of the map layers that will be included in the value added subscriptions. If you kick a submission back, does it reset SHPO's 30-day review period? I'm just thinking that there's going to be a learning curve. Certainly. I mean, we recognize the learning curve is going to be there for all of us. If we send a project back, it would have the same effect as if we send a project back to you all now for one reason or another. If we're asking for additional information, then that does reset the 30-day submittal from our end of things. And again, the learning curve part of it, we understand, and we will be patient with you if you will be patient with us. So we'll work together to get through this. Sorry, I hopped over this question. I know this is a sticky issue, but it's important to discuss. What is the Idaho SHPO's basis of authority to require federal agencies to utilize ICRIS? The agencies are bound by 36 CFR 800, which does not specify that we have to use ICRIS. What if an agency continues to consult with you through the use of certified letters signed by agency officials along with the documentation required by 36 CFR 800.11? True. I mean, that is true. And if a federal agency decides they want to continue to send or return, I would say, to sending paper copies to us of everything, that is certainly your option. We won't have the ability to take in data in the format that you are all submitting it to us now anymore after we go live with ICRIS. Our access databases will be migrated, and we won't be able to migrate new data from the access database into ICRIS after go live. Don't ask me why, but that is in fact a thing. I don't understand the technicalities of it. We can migrate all that before go live. We cannot migrate it after go live. So yes, I mean, if you choose to send us hard copies, I think you're going to be just as inconvenienced as we will be in that process. I'm not sure that it will benefit anybody, but if you want to send us a hard copy report and letter, we will accept it as we have always. Reclamation would be willing to be convinced by an increase in efficiency as opposed to simply relying on the authority issue. Well, certainly that is the whole point of this, Sean, is that we are, the whole point of ICRIS is that it's to increase efficiency for you and us, make things easier, make things quicker, have, greatly reduce turnaround times. Your turnaround time is going to be much longer if you're sending us hard copies, but, that'll be up to each agency to decide. But it is certainly the whole intent and purpose of ICRIS to increase efficiencies for everybody. How do we attach descriptions to photos if we're uploading JPEGs? I'm going to ask Ashley to answer that because she's got a better handle on the technical aspects.
Yeah, so once Kayla uploaded the JPEG, you can actually click the JPEG and add a description to the images. You just didn't demo it. Yep.
Okay. PDF is federally approved archival file format, while JPEG is not. Well, okay, we'll have to discuss that. JPEGs are easier for us to manage. They're easier for people to access. The images after a project is completed, because they can be saved individually rather than, dug out and removed from a report. But again, if you choose to send in hard copies and that's your choice, then we'll work with that. Is there an agreement?
Trisha,
Yeah, sure.
I was going to hop in with the JPEG issue.
Please.
So really what it is that we're taking that JPEG from you, and instead of you putting together the PDF for the site form, we're doing it. And so if you output a site form from ICRIS, it'll be in that PDF, that archival quality, format. But it's just, we're skipping that middle step because we've found that, like Trisha said, so many PDFs are poor quality. It's hard to get the image out of it. There are scanning issues with a lot of reasoning and justification.
You're cutting out a little bit, Lindsay, but I think Lindsay's point, and thank you, is more or less that you'll still be able to output a PDF document from the ICRIS data that you put in, and it'll look much like the forms have looked in the past, but you won't have to create the PDF. The system will do it itself. That makes sense, which I hope. Is there an agreement between SHPO and Forest Service for subscriptions, or is it up to each forest to pay for subscriptions? That will be up to the forest, the agency, how they might want to handle that. We have, with various agencies over the years, had cost share agreements, agreements that provide for information sharing. And so there are multiple ways that can happen. Is I think the easy answer to that. Is SHPO still going to have batch upload of site data? Ashley, can you tackle that one?
The batch upload of site data will be through the app, so you'll have to have a subscription to do batch uploads.
Make sure I'm getting all of them, all the questions, and not skipping over any. I have a huge issue with ASI not being able to migrate after go live. What do I do with the 4 or so projects I have pending with contractors that stipulated they use ASI because that was the process when I awarded the contracts? I don't have time or resources to fix this and put them into ICRIS, and I can't expect the contractor to do this because it isn't stipulated in the contract. So that's why we're asking you to send us the site forms prior to go live, even if the project isn't ready to come in. We understand that there are going to be circumstances where that doesn't happen. And we're working on how we're going to deal with that. We've been kind of telling agencies for some months that, you know, this is coming and it'd be good to get these documents in. And we will work with you to the greatest extent that we can to make things happen. And in some circumstances, that might mean that our staff will have to do data entry. I mean, that is not our preference, but if we don't have the ASI forms before go live, the only way you can submit the project not in ICRIS will be hard copy. And if you send us hard copy, then we will apparently have to do the data entry. But you won't be able to submit the project in ICRIS without having the resource records entered into ICRIS. I understand that's not the most convenient thing for all of you. We're going to work with you to the best of our ability. There are going to be hiccups, but we will get through it together with a little patience and grace. So we'll try to work with you, Katie, to make sure that, you know, you're not in a really bad place. Can you demo how to export a site form from ICRIS? I don't believe we've had that built out yet. Ashley, do you know for sure one way or another?
No, we haven't had that built out yet. They're still working on all the export features.
Okay. What are the size parameters for JPEGs? Ashley, have we set that? I'm not sure we have.
I'm not sure we've set it, but I know there's an upload limit on the PDFs at 25 megabytes, so it might be the same size, or it might be 5 megabytes. I'm not sure, but I can look in our notes.
Craig says, what app? We have mentioned in previous information sessions that part of this process for us is to develop a field app that agency staff and contractors will be able to take into the field and enter their data while on site, and then bring back to the office and batch upload into ICRIS. That's the app. So Sean, reacting to the PDF issue, this was mainly a concern about the requirements to upload JPEGs into the ICRIS system. Perhaps there could be some flexibility to upload PDFs provided that they meet certain criteria with regard to resolution. I guess I can just say, Sean, we'll look at that issue and consider it. I don't have an immediate answer for you right now. Ashley replied to Sean, I think 2 photos are required to submit a project or a resource. However, you can upload additional photos in a PDF. So not all photos would necessarily have to be in a JPEG format. Just the couple photos as a overview. I will do the best I can. We'll work together on this. We will all work together on this. It'll be all right. 2 photos are required. Why is this a requirement of ICRIS? The agency is already required to provide information adequate for the consulting parties to understand the nature of the undertaking. It's pretty standard that photographs are pretty imperative for us to be able to understand a property. So those are the photos that we require. We need some way to visualize the property if we are not actually visiting it in person as you are or your consultants. Barbara, no go live has been pushed back currently to January 18th from January 11th. It creeps back a little bit periodically. We still have a lot to do. It could creep back some more. So we'll keep you updated as that date changes. Can we batch upload an ArcGIS or ArcPro? Ashley, do you know the answer to that?
The answer is no. It'll have to be through the Survey 123 app with the subscription.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just reading comments here. So from Joe, yeah, I understand Joe's comment about projects and you know, the situation all of you are going to be in. We are just asking, if possible, if you could submit to us any site forms you have prior to go live. That would be very helpful to us. If that's not possible, we're obviously not going to reject your projects, but you may need to send them to us as a hard copy. You know, if you can't, if you don't have the staff time or the funds to make it work in ICRIS to double up some of the work you've already done, which is certainly understandable, that may have to come to us as a hard copy. And we'll keep looking at that migration issue, but my understanding, and I wish Shannon were here today because she has a better handle on technical aspects of all of this, but our understanding at this point is that we won't have the ability to migrate after go live. But we can keep looking at that because we know it's going to be an issue.
Trisha, I'm here.
Oh, you are? Sorry, Shannon.
Yeah.
I thought Ashley told me that you were not available at all for this meeting, so I apologize.
Well,
if you have an
I
answer
wasn't.
to this.
I finished early, sorry. I just jumped on. So there's no automated migration from the current ASI Access database into our new Postgres Azure environment. It's not to say that I can't take some of that data and plug it in, like some of the major text fields and that kind of stuff I could migrate into ICRIS, but there will still be additional data entry like checkboxes and drop downs that maybe I can't migrate. So it will be a piecemeal thing, and it also will kind of depend on the number of resources that are there. I'm not going to put the effort into doing this migration for like 5 sites, but 20 sites, it will be worth my time to be able to do that. So it's going to be a bit more complicated. It's not a quick keystroke to make it happen. So that's there. That's all I got.
Thank you, Shannon. So if we don't use the app, then we can't batch upload. Yes, that's correct. You can't batch upload into the ICRIS system. Yeah. Can you go over how you request or sign up for a subscription, the options and the costs? As soon as we have that all finalized, we'll push that out to you. You'll do it online on our State Historical Society website. And it'll be a fairly simple process. Could you tell me roughly how? We don't have an answer yet for your question about subscriptions. We're trying to keep the costs as low as possible, but we have to get some approvals up the line a little bit beyond our office. So we're working on that right now. If folks want to raise their hand and ask a question, you are welcome to do that as well. If you don't want to type it into the chat. Ashley.
I was just going to mention it might be good to touch base with some of your consultants and see how far they are along with these projects, and if they've actually gotten to the point of putting things into the Access database. There are fewer fields for the ASI. I know there's about as many fields for the IHSI as there are now. However, it might be an easier lift if you can wait a couple months for go live for those newly recorded resources they might be working on, and they might be willing to wait for ICRIS, knowing that it's an easier lift than the current system.
Thanks, Ashley. Any other questions? If not, we'll give you back some time today. As I said earlier, we are recording this session, and we will post this on the website at the link that Ashley dropped in at the beginning of the session. So you will be able to find this recording as well as the recordings from the earlier information sessions if you missed any of those, because each of the sessions kind of goes over slightly different things. So you might want to go back and review them if you weren't able to participate in those. So if there are no other questions, then I think we'll say thank you very much for joining us today and participating, and we'll hopefully see you back here next month.